Part 44. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 431. Xiao Jingjia came here with hatred. She didn't forget how Mu Zi caused her to lose everything step by step, and she didn't forget how heartless and ungrateful Mu Zening was when she was in a desperate situation. She asked for 3 million, and she asked for it with confidence. This is what she deserves. She even felt that she was at a loss for a year's efforts in exchange for 3 million. She should have achieved greater achievements and stood at a higher place, instead of being an unknown assistant like she is now. God knows how much she hates the position of assistant. Mu Rongxian took Mrs. Fu and Xiao Jingjia to the resting room, handed over the key to the painting room to Xiao Jingjia, and said, "Miss Xiao, you are very familiar with this place, please show Mrs. Fu a visit." Gone. He couldn't finish looking at the painting for an hour, and as the host of today's banquet, Mu Rongxian couldn't stay away for too long. Mrs. Fu smiled and said, "Mr. Mu is really bold, so you let me see those famous paintings so confidently and boldly. No matter how precious a famous painting is, it must be appreciated by someone who understands its value, so that it can appear precious. Otherwise, it will be dusty. Mrs. Fu is an elegant person. If you really like it, I can give you a pair or two," Mu Rongxian said. The heroism of these words, the value of several million, tens of millions of famous paintings to give away casually. Mu Rongxian dared to give it away, but Mrs. Fu didn't dare to accept it, because she would have to pay a corresponding price if she accepted it. If Mu Rongxian asked her for help in the future because of the difficulties in his official career, then today's gift of paintings would be worthless. Turned into bribery. Madame Fu knew this very well in her heart, so she responded gently, "A gentleman does not take what others like. These famous paintings are all treasured by Mr. Mu during his lifetime. It is a blessing for me to be able to see them today." After Mu Rongxian left, Xiao Jingjia accompanied Mrs. Fu to the room where famous paintings were collected. Mrs. Fu asked her, "The woman in the cheongsam today is the Mrs. Bai you mentioned?" "Well, it's her." Xiao Jingjia nodded. Madame Fu frowned and said, "Why do you look so young?" "It's very young. Mrs. Bai is 10 years younger than Mr. Mu's eldest son." Xiao Jingjia couldn't help but paused as she spoke. She remembered that Bai Wei's age was actually about the same as Mrs. Fu's. Logically speaking, Mrs. Fu was already well maintained. She is already a woman, but compared with Bai Wei, she is still far behind. Moreover, Bai Wei is deliberately dressing up soberly now. If she wears brighter clothes, it would not be an exaggeration to say that she is 25 or 16 years old. Xiao Jingjia was afraid that Mrs. Fu would be unhappy, so she hurriedly added, "In terms of beauty care, Mrs. Bai has always been very careful," alluding to Bai Wei's deliberate cosmetic surgery. The haze on Mrs. Fu's face really dissipated, and she said disdainfully, "Mr. Mu has passed away for so many years, and she still spends so much time on these things, it seems that she is restless." Xiao Jingjia would not belittle Bai Wei directly, as she would appear to be mean. She said implicitly, "The affairs of that family are messy. I don't know too much. I only know that her son goes to and from the casino every day and is not doing business, and her daughter also has eccentricities, so she raised a boa constrictor." Mrs. Fu was surprised when she heard the words, "She has a boa constrictor at home." "Yes, I heard that it has been raised for several years, and the whole family eats and lives with the boa constrictor," Xiao Jingjia said. Madame Fu's eyes showed deep disgust. Although she didn't comment, the look of disdain on her face was very clear. She didn't like Bai Wei very much, and she also didn't like Bai Wei's children very much. While the two were chatting, they had reached the door of the painting collection room, and Xiao Jingjia opened the door with a key. When Madame Fu saw the house full of famous paintings, her expression was shocked, and she forgot the unpleasant emotions just now. Xiao Jingjia's heart beat a little faster. Not because of nervousness, but because of excitement. She has steadily completed the first step of the plan. Next, she will put on a big play in Mu's house. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 432. The Mu family's collection of paintings is astonishing in quantity and quality. In addition to the savings accumulated by the ancestors for many years, there are also many that Mr. Mu bought from various countries. From this it can be seen that Mr. Mu is an elegant person. Every time he sees a painting he likes at the auction, he will spare no expense to buy it back. After seeing these paintings, Mrs. Fu understood what a century-old family is. Even if a century-old family loses power once, the wealth accumulated over a century is enough for the world to look up to. While looking at the paintings, Mrs. Fu did not forget her precious daughter, so she asked Xiao Jingjia to take a look. Xiao Jingjia was a little impatient in her heart, but she still responded with a smile on her face. When she went downstairs, she saw Mu Zhenning smoking a cigarette by the corridor window. He seemed to think it was stuffy downstairs, so he deliberately ran upstairs, opened a window, and smoked leisurely. Zhenning Xiao Jingjia greeted him softly, her gaze fell on the cigarette between his fingers. You rarely smoked before. Mu Zhenning seldom smokes, but recently he never leaves his cigarettes. He smiled lightly, flicked the cigarette ash. You also said that it was the past, people will change. Then, she turned to look at Xiao Jingjia, and said, I didn't expect you to come today. I think Mrs. Fu thinks highly of you, which is not bad. With her as a guarantee, you will have a bright future wherever you go to work in the future. Xiao Jingjia smiled and said, the future is exaggerated. I'm just helping Mrs. Fu with some private matters. The words seemed to be modest, but it was intriguing to listen carefully. Being able to help Mrs. Fu with her personal affairs showed that she was highly trusted. Mu Zhenning didn't respond, he seemed to be thinking about other things. He just nodded lightly when he heard this. Well, it's pretty good too. Xiao Jingjia was a little disappointed that she didn't get the praise and appreciation. Seeing that she didn't leave, Mu Zhenning asked, what's the matter? Xiao Jingjia really felt hurt. She approached Mu Zhenning before. Although she had a purpose in the beginning, she had also invested in her feelings after getting along for a year. How could this man just call it quits? He is so heartless. But it doesn't matter, when today's matter is done, there will be times when he begs himself. Thinking of this, Xiao Jingjia's mood improved, and she asked Mu Zhenning with a smile, it's nothing, I just wanted to ask you, do you feel that I am different today? Mu Zhenning smiled, but looked at her seriously from head to toe, and finally his eyes fell on Xiao Jingjia's neck. The necklace is pretty good. Thank you, I like it too, Xiao Jingjia replied, and then passed by Mu Zhenning. She thought to herself, Mu Zhenning, choosing to give up on me will be your greatest loss, and you will regret it. At the banquet hall, Mu Zi was introducing her classmates to Bai Wei. Zhang Xinyuan, you have met before. This is Zhuang Jia. Her mother is a well-known designer. Lanwei Fashion is the brand founded by her mother. Zhang Xinyuan and Zhuang Jia said to Bai Wei one by one, Happy New Year, Auntie. Bai Wei smiled and said, Happy New Year. Then one person gave a red envelope. The juniors went to dance on the dance floor after paying New Year's greetings. When Zhuang Jia taught Mu Zi how to dance, she couldn't help but marvel, Zi, your mother is so young. She doesn't look like a 40-year-old woman at all. When I called her aunt, hearts are empty. Zhang Xinyuan also echoed, when I first met, I thought it was Zizi's sister. Zhuang Jia asked again, has she ever had a facelift? That's not true, even if she has a facelift to remove wrinkles, she won't look so good. Could it be photorejuvenation? Hyaluronic acid, don't be angry, just treat me as nonsense. Zhuang Jia was so shocked that she said the wrong thing. Of course Muzi would not blame her, and proudly said, "My mother was born in a family of traditional Chinese medicine, so there are many ancient prescriptions for beauty." The two girls stared at each other. Teach me, teach me." Muzi was about to say that they were too young, but she smelled an unusual smell from the tip of her nose. She froze slightly, turned her head to look. There are only chatting and laughing guests, and servants who walk like the wind. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 433. Zizi, what's wrong with you? Zhang Xinyuan and Zhuangjia's voice brought Muzi back to his senses. Oh, it's okay. Muzi smiled and said, how old are you, and you want to look good when you are 17 or 18 years old? Let's talk about it in 10 years. Zhuangjia teased her, oh, look at your old-fashioned words, aren't you as old as us? Talking is just tickling her, let you pretend to be mature, let you pretend to be mature. Zhang Xinyuan smiled at the side. Zhuangjia scratched her, but she couldn't bear her pretending to be old and dignified. It's because of my nature, I'm showing my true feelings, Muzi defended with a smile while hiding. The three girls laughed and made a fuss. Not long after, it was noon and the banquet began. The servants put delicacies on the table one by one. Compared with the self-service dessert and fruit plate just now, the current dishes can be regarded as a real luxurious feast. Lobster, abalone, foie gras and steak should be available, with all kinds of color, fragrance and taste. They quarreled for a while. They were about to sit in the table when they were hungry, but they were stopped by Muzi. What's wrong? Zhuangjia looked back at her, not knowing why. Zhang Xinyuan was also surprised, and stood there looking at the two of them. Zhuangjia, does your Maksud bark when he sees a stranger? Muzi suddenly asked. Of course, Zhuangjia immediately replied, Maksud's mother has also made military exploits. She has a noble blood and is very alert. She doesn't respond now because I'm by my side, and she knows you are my friends. After finishing speaking, he asked strangely, Zizi, why did you suddenly ask this? Muzi smiled mysteriously, waved at the two girls, and whispered, you guys come with me. The luncheon was already underway, and all the guests were seated one after another, but the three girls were out of place and headed outside the gate. Not far away, Yun saw it and snorted coldly, I don't understand etiquette. When entering the table, Yun saw Xiao Jingjia and remembered that Xiao Jingjia was now a celebrity beside Mrs. Fu. Yun wanted to make friends, and greeted her with a smile, Aunt Xiao. Xiao Jingjia also smiled when she saw her, why didn't you see Xiao Ling today? She is out of town for medical treatment. My father was afraid of delaying her illness, so he didn't pick her up during the Chinese New Year. Mentioning Mu Ling, Yun felt a little uncomfortable. Xiao Jingjia asked with concern, what disease is it? Do you need me to introduce a doctor? Xiao Jingjia always puts on a very enthusiastic and well-connected appearance, and is more popular with the Mu sisters than Suzy, who is too principled. Yun was vague, it's nothing, it's just that the pressure of studying is too great, I can't eat or sleep, and it has improved recently. The implication is that Xiao Jingjia's help is not needed. When it comes to mental illness, people always discriminate against it, wondering if the disease is hereditary. If my sister gets it, will my sister get it? Will future children get it? If people know about Mu Ling's insanity, Mu Yun's future marriage will be difficult. Mu Yun didn't want to talk about Mu Ling, so she pretended to be affectionate and hugged Xiao Jingjia, Aunt Xiao, why haven't you come to see my third uncle recently? Her movements were slightly larger, and she bumped into the small bag on Xiao Jingjia's wrist, and the contents inside were also exposed. What are you doing? Xiao Jingjia suddenly snapped. Mu Yun was taken aback by her fierce reaction, and even the nearby guests looked over. Xiao Jingjia quickly smiled, and while closing the button on the bag, she explained, I'm sorry, Xiaoun, I overreacted a bit, this bag contains all MRS Fu's things, so I'm a little nervous. It's okay, I was not careful. Mu Yun said awkwardly. Xiao Jingjia smiled, turned around and hurried to find MRS Fu. Mu Yun stayed where she was, with some doubts in her heart. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 434. She clearly saw a small bottle of something like medicinal wine just now. What is MRS Fu doing with a bottle of medicinal wine? She is sick? Impossible, MRS Fu is still breastfeeding, even if she is sick, she will not use alcoholic drugs, because it will affect the child. Mu Yun couldn't understand it. But this is not an important matter, she just passed it after thinking about it, and didn't take it to heart. Xiao Jingjia deliberately observed Mu Yun's expression not far away, and was relieved to see her continue talking and laughing with other guests. I thought, Mu Yun probably didn't see it. Xiao Jingjia settled down, and sat down beside Madame Fu with a calm expression. Madame Fu asked her, is the baby okay? The baby is sleeping soundly after drinking milk, Xiao Jingjia replied with a smile, I went to see her just now and saw her smiling. She must be dreaming. Madame Fu showed a satisfied smile. There was a lady next to her who didn't know Xiao Jingjia, and asked, Madam, is this your sister? Madame Fu smiled and said, I wish she was my sister. This is my assistant, Xiao Jingjia. She is very serious and careful in her work. If she wasn't by my side, I would be very busy. In words, she is very sure of Xiao Jingjia's ability. The other party smiled and said, Miss Xiao is so capable and beautiful. Next month, our Women's Rights Federation will have a charity dinner. We just need a female master of ceremonies. I wonder if Miss Xiao is interested. You're too much. Xiao Jingjia pursed her lips and smiled, looking at MRS Fu. She is Madame Fu's assistant, whether she will go or not, of course she needs Madame Fu to speak. The charity dinner is a good thing, such a rare opportunity, of course we will go. Madame Fu patted the back of Xiao Jingjia's hand lightly like a loving elder, go. The smile on Xiao Jingjia's face deepened, and her heart was burning. When things are done, Fu Chajun will definitely value himself even more. Xiao Jingjia's heart was pounding, as if seeing fame and wealth beckoning to her. This time her plan was perfect. Not only could she become Madame Fu's confidant, but she could also suppress the Mu family and take revenge on Mu Zi. Take revenge on Mu Zhenning. Now, the time seems to have come. Xiao Jingjia suppressed her excitement, raised her head slightly and glanced at Mu's table. Mu Zi and several of her classmates were there. Bai Wei is also there. As for Murong Chen, she had inquired about it, and the incompetent fourth young master of the Mu family was often not at home. So now, the small western building is empty. Xiao Jingjia got up gracefully, and said to Fufu, I'll bring some food to Sister Zhao. She has been taking care of the children, so I'm afraid she won't be able to eat. Before Madame Fu could speak, the lady next to her said, Madame Fu, your assistant is very careful. Madame Fu smiled and said yes. At this time, the nearby servant said, the kitchen has prepared lunch for MRS Fu's nanny alone, and it is about to be sent there. Xiao Jingjia's face changed slightly, and then she reacted very quickly, let me go, and take a look at the baby by the way. If she cries and makes a fuss, I can still help Sister Zhao. All right, you can go. MRS Fu did not doubt that he was there. Xiao Jingjia went to the kitchen, took the food and went upstairs. During the period, Xiao Jingjia secretly added laxatives to the soup and dishes in the unmanned corridor, and then sent her to the baby's resting room with a calm expression. Sister Shao is coaxing the baby in the room. After Mrs. Fu had a child, she hired 6 or 7 nannies, and she was most satisfied with Sister Shao, so she stayed with her all the time. Xiao Jingjia put down the food and came to see the child. Baby is awake. No, I'm still sleeping, just humming a bit. Sister Zhao comforted the child firmly, and gently put the child on the bed. Sister Zhao, you can eat first. I'll help you look after the baby. The food is getting cold, Xiao Jingjia said. Sister Zhao said yes, and said, Miss Xiao, you are so kind. Xiao Jingjia smiled slightly. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 435. After the luncheon, the guests sat around leisurely chatting and greeting each other. There were acquainted wives, and a few people went to the side hall to play cards, and the younger ones went back to the dance floor to dance. Generally speaking, the spring banquet is coming to an end at this time, and when the afternoon tea is served, the guests will leave one after another. Fu Chajun chatted with the wives of several dignitaries, and Xiao Jingjia followed Fu Chajun, assuming that he was always on call and doing his duty. However, Fu Chajun never deliberately recommended anyone for her. She came to the spring banquet today, not to promote it for Xiao Jingjia. If there is a suitable opportunity, she will naturally mention a few words, and if not, she will not force it. But what Xiao Jingjia wanted was far more than that. Xiao Jingjia couldn't help thinking in her heart, I really did the right thing. If I want to use the governor's secretary's wife to climb up, it's not enough to win sympathy, and I need even greater kindness. At this time, the nanny brought by Mrs. Fu hurried down the stairs. Ma'am. It's not good. Sister Zhao's eyes were red, her forehead was covered with sweat, and she looked panic-stricken. Madame Fu's heart skipped a beat. Sister Zhao is the babysitter who takes care of the baby. Does this look like? Before she could think about it, Sister Zhao had already run up to her, and shouted on the verge of tears, Ma'am! The baby is gone. What? Fu Chajun's face turned pale in an instant. How is this possible? This is Mu's house, and it's not those busy streets. It's a good place. How could the child disappear? Are you sure you've looked for it? Could it be that the child turned over to sleep and pushed himself into the quilt, so you didn't look at it? Someone reminded him. The nanny cried anxiously, I searched everything. There is no bed or bed. There are bodyguards guarding the door, but the child is gone. The cries and shouts attracted all the guests in the banquet hall, and everyone talked about it. What happened? It is said that Mrs. Fu's child is missing. Ah! How come? Isn't someone watching? Yeah, it's really strange. Mu Rongxian also heard the sound, and immediately comforted him, Mrs. Fu, don't worry, the child will definitely be found. But Fu Chajun couldn't listen to a word, she was in a turmoil, she didn't care about etiquette, and ran to the stairs quickly, for fear that she would really lose the child. Xiao Jingjia also followed closely behind, secretly happy in her heart, the big show has begun. The moment she walked up the stairs, she glanced back in a strange way, and saw Mu Ziyan in the crowd, with a sneer on his lips. Xiao Jingjia's heart tightened. Will Musa notice something? Xiao Jingjia was a little nervous. She had already suffered a few times in Musa's hands. If the first time was bad luck, the second time was bad luck, and the third time, this Musa, maybe it's really a bit unusual. My plan is perfect, she can't find out, Xiao Jingjia comforted herself, trying to calm down, even if I notice something, it's too late now. Xiao Jingjia suppressed the worries in her heart and chased after Fu Chajun in front. Outside the crowd, Zhang Xinyuan subconsciously held Mu Ziyi's hand and looked at her worriedly. Something really happened, Zhang Xinyuan whispered. Zhuangjia's expression was also tense, and she murmured, I was guessed by Zizi. It's just that they only guessed roughly, but they didn't expect that Jiao Jingjia would use a child under 1 year old as a raft. Don't worry, it will be fine. Mu Zi comforted the two friends. Let's go, we will go up and have a look. The curious guests in the banquet hall all went upstairs in whispers. Mu Zi, Zhuangjia, and Zhang Xinyuan mingled among the crowd and went upstairs. Mu Zhenning frowned and summoned a security guard, and ordered, send someone to guard the front and back doors, and no one is allowed to go out, and no one is allowed to come in. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 436. Mu Zi followed the crowd upstairs, and before he could reach it, he heard a woman's shrill cry from ahead. Where's my child? Didn't I let you watch me all the time? Fu Chajun almost collapsed. The nanny cried so hard that she couldn't catch her breath. I don't know either, I just went to the toilet, come back, and she disappeared when I came back. I really don't know. The bodyguard at the door also had an extremely ugly face, and said, we have been guarding the door, and only Miss Jiao came to deliver the meal once. Jiao Jingjia wanted to cry, yeah, the baby was fine at that time, why did it disappear suddenly? The baby was still sleeping on the bed when I left. When Mrs. Fu heard that none of these people had any clues, her eyes went dark and she almost fainted. It was difficult for her to get pregnant, and she finally got a daughter in middle age. She held it in her hand and cared for her every day, but she disappeared in Mu's house. Mu Rongxian also panicked, how could a living child disappear without knowing why? This is the only daughter of the governor's secretary. If this child is really gone, Fu Chajun will definitely hate the Mu family. All his flattery all day was for nothing, let alone his official career. Might as well be under investigation. He immediately supported Fu Chajun, and said, Mrs. Fu, don't worry, the child will not be lost, we will help you find it. I will call the security right away, and seal everything here, and we will check the surveillance. Mu Zhenning walked into the room at this time, with a steady voice, the front and rear doors have been guarded. The child should be nearby in such a short time. Now we can't panic, let's see if there are any clues. Before Mu Zhenning finished speaking, Jiao Jingjia suddenly exclaimed. Why are the windows open? Jiao Jingjia didn't know when she walked to the window. The window was half open, and there was a little bit of cold wind blowing in. It's just that everyone's attention was on Mrs. Fu just now, so no one noticed. When I left, the window was obviously closed. Jiao Jingjia leaned over, poked her head out of the window, and exclaimed again, ah! What is this? She picked up something from the window sill, and looked at Madame Fu with a terrified expression. Madam, these seem to be snake scales. What did you say? Fu Chajun couldn't think any more, her head buzzed as if being hit by a hammer. Jiao Jingjia cried loudly, ma'am, it's a snake. Mu Zi's boa constrictor came to this room. Jiao Jingjia's words were like throwing a boulder into a lake, causing shocking splashes. Everyone's expressions changed. There was a dead silence in the room, and the atmosphere was extremely depressing. As for Mr. Fu Chu, he was completely taken aback. Her blood seemed to stop flowing, her limbs became cold and stiff, and the tip of her tongue was as heavy as a rock. You mean, the boa constrictor ate my child? While saying these words, Fu Chajun turned his neck stiffly, and went to look for Mu Zi in the crowd. There were many people around the door, she didn't know which one was Mu Zi, but at this moment, all eyes were on a girl. Fu Chajun fixedly looked at her. In the eyes, a ferocious scarlet gradually appeared, as if seeing an enemy. Muzi met Mrs. Fu's bloodthirsty gaze, and said indifferently, "My snake has been locked in the house, it is impossible to escape." She is so calm. So calm that it makes people feel indifferent. If other things happened, people would think that she was not surprised and had everyone's demeanor, but now she has lost her child. Muzi is still so calm, people will only think that she is cold-blooded. Muzenning slightly covered Muzi with his body. He was worried that Mrs. Fu would do something extreme, so he persuaded him, "Is there some misunderstanding here? The snakes are kept in the back garden, so they probably wouldn't come here. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 437. Muzenning's subtle movements deeply stimulated Xiao Jingjia. He actually protected that little bitch. Yes, it should be protected. Muzi's surname is Mu. The snake raised by Muzi has done something evil, and none of the Mu family should think about it. Xiao Jingjia's heart seemed to be burning with flames, with both the joy of success and the strong hatred. She said angrily, "The evidence is in front of you, do you still want to deny it? The bodyguards are guarding the door. If it wasn't for the boa constrictor that snatched away Mrs. Fu's child, how could the child disappear for no reason?" Ah! The resentment in her heart made Xiao Jingjia's current appearance even more real. And this questioning hit Fu Chajun's heart heavily, and a big hole was made, which hurt her terribly. "My child," Fu Chajun cried hoarsely. "If the boa constrictor snatches the child away, can there still be a way out?" This is what everyone is thinking at the moment. The crowd of onlookers had different expressions, including shock, pity, embarrassment, doubt, and some kind-hearted ladies with red eyes, shedding tears when they thought of the poor young life being ruined like this. "Good girl, why do you want to raise snakes?" someone in the crowd said. "A lady from a famous family, which one is not elegant and dignified? Who would keep a snake as a pet? If a pet commits crimes, the owner must also be a villain." The gazes focused on Muzi were full of disgust and contempt. Mu Rongxuan's entire back felt icy cold. At the moment when he received Tongwu's congratulatory gift, he was still complacent that Muzi made friends with the Gu family, but now, Muzi has made such a big mess. Will young Master Gu keep Muzi? Impossible. With such a big incident, young Master Gu will only dislike Muzi. It's over. Muzi is going to kill the Mu family. Mu Rongxuan's current mood could not only be described as anger, he was simply desperate. "Look what you've done!" he shouted angrily, and raised his arms to slap Muzi. Muzenning stood sideways to block. "Brother, the matter is still unclear." "Don't stop me," Mu Rongxian was furious, "I'm going to beat her to death. Tell her to apologize with death." Even if he couldn't really beat Muzi to death, Mu Rongxian would still beat her severely. The harder the beating, the lighter the governor's secretary's anger will be. Mu Rongxian wants to get rid of the rest of the Mu family from this matter. However, Mu Rongxian was over 50, and Mu Zhenning was young and strong, so if he didn't let Mu Rongxian beat Muzi, no matter how hard Mu Rongxian tried, it would be futile. The two brothers were at a stalemate, but Muzi said softly, "Whether this matter was done by a snake, you will know if you go and have a look." There was Mu's security guard outside the door, and Mu Zhenning immediately said, "You guys go to the back garden to have a look." "No," Xiao Jingjia suddenly interrupted, her eyes rolled slightly, and she said sharply, "You are all a family, who knows if you will cover each other and destroy the corpses and traces in advance. Go, everyone go together. Everyone thinks it makes sense and they should go together." Mu Rongxuan's face was livid. "If I went here, would I have witnessed the scene where the python swallowed the baby alive? Even if not, what if a child is cut out of the python's belly?" All of a sudden, his mind was filled with all kinds of horrific situations. He was so angry and frightened that he could barely turn his mind. How will this mess end? Qiao Jingjia supported Fu Chajun, who was trembling all over, and persuaded mournfully, the baby will be fine. We will go find her now, ma'am, your child must be waiting for you to save her, you must be fine. Being a mother is strong, not to mention Fu Chajun's personality tends to be tough. She was just stunned by the sudden tragedy just now. Now that she heard Qiao Jingjia's persuasion, she finally cheered up, gritted her teeth, and said word by word, "Okay, let's go and see." At this time, a security guard rushed upstairs, unable to catch his breath. My child has been found. On the ice. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 438. The child is found. As soon as the sentence was said, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. But then, the security guard said that the child is on the ice. What does this mean? Qiao Jingjia was also puzzled. This is not the script she planned, it is not the same as her arrangement. Mrs. Fu's child should be in the snake house in the small mansion, not on some ice. For this plan, Qiao Jingjia has been planning for a long time. At first it was just an idea, but it gradually took shape. Later, the news that Mu's family was going to hold a spring banquet gave her inspiration, and she felt that she couldn't be smarter. How could he come up with such a seamless scheme? In the beginning, she bought off the Mu family's servants. This is easy, because the Mu family has recently been short of servants, and has recruited many new servants. The new servants are mixed, and they are not as loyal as the old servants. She just raised the price a little, and the other servants were tempted. The maid prepared a baby carrier and stood by the window. Qiao Jingjia used laxatives to distract the nanny, and then put down the prepared rope by the window. The rope was tied to the carrier and hung upstairs. She then put the baby in the carrier and hung them downstairs together. She also prepared the scales of the snake in advance and placed them outside the window sill. After finishing all this, she left the room as if nothing had happened, and the servant would sneak into the empty small Western-style building with the baby in his arms in the house of the boa constrictor. Qiao Jingjia knew that Mu Zi's boa constrictor would not hurt anyone, at least the boa constrictor had never had any accidents in Mu's house for so many years. But Mrs. Fu didn't know, and neither did the others. As long as everyone sees the child in the python house, no matter whether it is injured or not, people will only think that the python has taken the child. Mrs. Fu will hate Mu Zi, and also the Mu family. She will use all her connections to crazily suppress and retaliate against the Mu family. But Mrs. Fu would be grateful to Qiao Jingjia. Because Qiao Jingjia will rush into the snake house at the first time, and rescue Mrs. Fu's precious daughter from the mouth of the dangerous python. She, Qiao Jingjia, will become a hero, and the Mu family will be condemned by everyone. She was able to torment the Mu family to the end, and a mere Mu Zi, would there be a way out? Poor Mu Zi, who will bear the wrath of everyone in the Mu family. Mu Zi's end will be extremely miserable. Qiao Jingjia was proud of this, but she didn't understand why the child was found on the ice. But it doesn't matter, it can be understood that the python took the child away and abandoned it halfway. There are snake scales on the windowsill, and the child disappeared from the house. In any case, this crime will be charged on the head of the boa constrictor. Mu Zi can't deny it. Qiao Jingjia supported the staggering Mrs. Fu, and followed the security guards all the way to the artificial lake in the garden. Behind them, a group of guests followed. From a distance, I saw a black spot in the middle of the frozen lake. If you look closer, you can see that it is a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes. My child, Fu Chajun struggled and was about to rush over. You can't go there, the security guard immediately stopped Mrs. Fu, the ice layer on the lake is too thin, people will fall into the ice hole if they step on it. My child. I'm going to save my child, Mrs. Fu cried and pushed the security guard. The security guard was very upright, stubbornly stopped him, and shouted loudly, "I really can't pass. Someone has already fallen, look at the footprints on the ice." It snowed lightly this morning, and there was a thin layer of snow on the ice of the lake. The black shoe prints stepped on the snow-white ice and snow, which were extremely clear and obvious, and extended all the way to the center of the lake, and not far from the baby, a big ice hole suddenly opened. Apparently, someone walked across the ice layer with a child in his arms, but the ice layer cracked, and the person fell into the ice hole, but the child was lucky enough to fall on the ice layer at the last moment, and was rescued by luck because of his lightweight life. Who took the child? Everyone in the crowd had doubts on their faces. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 439. Mrs. Fu stood helplessly on the plank road by the lake, looking at her child from afar. The swaddle was motionless, and the child inside didn't know whether it was dead or alive. She wished she could run over there, but she could only hesitate by the lake in despair. She is not afraid of the icy lake, but she is worried that if she does not reach the center of the lake in time, the cracks in the ice will be affected, and innocent children will fall into the ice hole. In the cold winter of February, what a crime it would be for a baby under 1 year old to fall into the icy water of a lake. Who can save her? Who can save her? Who will save our mother and daughter? Mrs. Fu knelt down slowly in grief. If her daughter died, she didn't want to live anymore. Among the guests, someone couldn't help scolding, "It's too evil. This person took the child away, it's not good to go anywhere, but he wants to go to the lake." Everyone sighed. At this time, Muzi, who had been silent all this time, said, "Because he wants to escape as soon as possible." Escape? Where is he going to escape? Is this kidnapper crazy? Muzi was expressionless, and said calmly, he knew in advance that this road was about to welcome many guests to watch, so he panicked and chose the lake to escape, but unexpectedly the ice was too thin and he fell into the ice hole. The child in his arms did not fall together, otherwise, the person who planned behind the scene would have really committed a great crime. After Muzi finished speaking, she raised her clear and bright eyes, and her eyes were clear and cold, and fell on Xiao Jingjia. The situation turned sharply, and everyone held their breath. Someone is playing tricks. People's eyes turned to Fu Chajun's assistant, who had been by his side all the time. That kind-hearted and gentle woman had a heart like a snake and a scorpion. And after Fu Chajun cried and shouted, his emotions at this moment calmed down strangely. She looked at Xiao Jingjia with cold eyes, and said nothing, as if she was calmly waiting for Xiao Jingjia to explain. A dense layer of cold sweat oozed from Xiao Jingjia's forehead. It's like this again. Whenever she was about to pick the fruit, Muzi blocked her way to the top like a plague god. What nonsense are you talking about? Xiao Jingjia turned around slowly, her voice was soft but cold. It's obviously your snake bite, but now, you want to slander me instead. She spread out her palm, and the snake scale was still there. Xiao Jingjia's eyes were a little ferocious. This is evidence, how do you explain it? Muzi smiled softly, you are really amazing, Xiao Jingjia, you actually managed to get this. Did you find it in the snake house while our family was traveling on the island? But do you know that through the drying of snake scales, to what extent, it is possible to guess the time when the snake scale will fall off? Xiao Jingjia's expression froze. She pretended to be calm, but the information conveyed by her expression at that moment completely exposed her guilty conscience. Among the guests present, which one is not a human being? Anyone with a little brain smelled the smell of conspiracy. The villa is so big, where is the snake going? Why did it just enter the room with the baby? When people look at Xiao Jingjia again, their eyes are full of meaning. Mu Yun was in the crowd, her mood fluctuated several times. It's true that she hates Mu Zi, but if the python really killed Mrs. Fu's daughter, would the Mu family still have a future? Can she still marry Hai? That's Mrs. Fu. She is the wife of the governor's secretary, and her contacts are either the governor or the congressman, and she is indispensable in both the money and power circles. The Mu family can't afford to offend them. At this moment, Mu Zi bit Xiao Jingjia back, and Mu Yun wanted to drink it loudly. You did it, Mu Yun rushed out suddenly, regardless of trying to grab Xiao Jingjia's bag. I saw it. There is something in your bag. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 440. Muyun. Are you crazy? Let go. Xiao Jingjia's face changed drastically, her composure was completely defeated, and she immediately clutched her bag tightly. As the two tugged, all the contents of the bag fell to the ground, and a delicate wine bottle the size of a palm was particularly conspicuous. Mu Yun picked up the wine bottle first, looked at it and sneered, Xiao Jingjia, what are you bringing realgar wine with you? Who doesn't know that snakes are most afraid of realgar? Don't you have a foretelling, and knew before coming that the python would snatch Mrs. Fu's child? Mu Yun's words were like cold arrows, every sentence nailed Xiao Jingjia in place, making her unable to move. Madame Fu was short of breath, she couldn't bear it anymore, her heart was burning with rage, almost burning all her sanity. She pounced on Xiao Jingjia, pinned Xiao Jingjia to the ground without manners, and choked her neck. It's you who killed my daughter, Mrs. Fu yelled frantically. Ah, Xiao Jingjia cried out in pain as her hair was torn. Mu Zhenning intervened and forcibly separated the two women. Madame Fu, please calm down, the most urgent thing now is to save the child. Xiao Jingjia was slapped and fell to the ground in embarrassment, half of her face was red and swollen, and even her gums were swollen and painful. She cried and said, Ma'am, you can't believe what they say. I brought realgar wine just in case. I know that Mu's family has a big boa constrictor. If I want to come to the banquet, I prepared realgar wine in advance. It's entirely for the baby's sake. Think about safety. Madam, think about it, why would I harm your child? I have no motive to do such a thing at all. There is no reason to do it at all. Isn't it hard to find a reason? Zhuangjia finally couldn't help it, maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's because you want to take revenge on Mu Zi, your heart is so dirty, who knows what you think. That necklace around your neck, it is a limited edition of Lanwei fashion this year, and the secretary of the governor bought one. The necklace he bought, why is it worn around your neck? What is your relationship with the secretary of the governor? I think you are uneasy and kind when you are with Mrs. Fu. A series of pressing questions created another huge wave in the crowd. Xiao Jingjia was bewildered by the waves, and there was no trace of blood on her face. After Mu Zi, Mu Yun, and Zhuangjia exposed her flawless tricks one after another, it was riddled with holes. She even exposed her affair with the governor's secretary. Madame Fu didn't want to listen to any more excuses anymore. She held on to Mu Zhenning's arm tightly, her tears almost dried up. Save my child, we must find a way to save her, save her. Save the child. It is never too late to pursue responsibility, and it is not too late to mention it after the fact. What matters right now is the child. Rescue is coming soon. Mu Rongxian raised the phone and shouted, the rescue team will send a helicopter over immediately. Mu Rongxian, who was single-mindedly thinking about his face, finally came to his senses and called for help in time. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. When the rescue team arrives, the child will be saved. But just when people were calming down, someone suddenly exclaimed, ah! The ice layer is cracked. Everyone looked over. The ice on the lake is white, even if there are slight cracks, it is actually hard to see clearly, but the piece of floating ice carrying the baby is tilting slightly. The ice is about to crack. But when will the rescue team arrive? Will that piece of ice hold up until the rescue team arrives? Madame Fu didn't care about anything. She rushed towards the artificial lake with her whole body. Her high heels trampled fine pieces of ice and snow, and within a few steps, there was a rattling sound of cracking under her feet. Dangerous, Mu Zhenning pulled her back with quick eyesight and quick hands. In the crowd, Mu Zi moved quietly, and whispered something to Zhang Xinyuan.